Gustave Moreau, born on April 6, 1826 in Paris, France, was a pioneering French symbolist painter whose work bridged Romanticism and early modernism. Known for his richly detailed and often mystical scenes, Moreau's work reflects an intense fascination with mythological, biblical, and literary subjects. His unique style, marked by a combination of opulent colors, elaborate detail, and surreal imagery, positioned him as a critical influence in symbolist art and paved the way for the imaginative freedom seen in the later surrealist movement. Moreau was born into an artistic family. His father was an architect, and his mother, who was a deeply influential figure in his life, encouraged his artistic inclinations. Showing a natural talent for art from an early age, Moreau entered the École des Beaux-Arts in Paris in 1846. His education there followed the traditional academic approach, emphasizing classical techniques and themes. Early on, Moreau admired artists like Théodore Chassériau and Eugène Delacroix, whose romantic and exotic styles would later influence his own work. Chassériau, in particular, became a friend and mentor, encouraging Moreau to explore more personal and expressive forms of art, rather than adhering strictly to academic conventions. Moreau's early works were primarily traditional, but he quickly developed a preference for themes outside the conventional historical and religious subjects popular in academic circles. Instead, he turned his focus to mythological and literary figures, creating deeply personal interpretations of characters like Oedipus, Salome, and Orpheus. His 1864 painting, Oedipus and the Sphinx, marked a turning point in his career. The work, which depicts Oedipus solving the riddle of the Sphinx, was hailed by critics for its psychological intensity and intricate detail. Unlike many artists of his time, Moreau didn't merely paint a scene. He invested his figures with symbolic meaning and emotional complexity, layering his canvases with symbolism that encouraged viewers to look deeper. During the 1870s, Moreau's work grew increasingly elaborate and imaginative. He began incorporating elements that drew from diverse art traditions, including Byzantine, Indian, and Persian influences, which gave his work a distinct, otherworldly quality. His creative process was meticulous. He would spend years perfecting his compositions, working on multiple versions, and often creating detailed studies. His paintings from this period, including Orpheus, 1865, and Jupiter and Semele, 1895, reveal a fascination with themes of love, fate, and divine intervention, rendered with luminous colors, intricate ornamentation, and ethereal imagery. In Jupiter and Semele, for instance, Moreau created a vision of the gods that was both stunning and terrifying, a display of divine grandeur that radiates both beauty and mystery. By the late 19th century, Moreau's approach to painting had diverged significantly from the academic traditions in which he was trained. His focus on interior visions and mythic symbolism was embraced by the emerging symbolist movement, which sought to express spiritual truths and inner experiences rather than realistic depictions of the external world. Moreau's work resonated with younger artists and intellectuals who were exploring the psychological and mystical aspects of human experience. His imagery, rich with metaphors and mystical elements, made him an icon within the movement, and his ideas would later influence prominent symbolists like Odilon Redon and Puvis de Chavannes. Though he remained somewhat withdrawn from the Paris art scene, Moreau's influence extended through his teaching role at the École des Beaux-Arts. In 1891, he became a professor, mentoring a generation of students who would go on to shape modern art, including Henri Matisse, Georges Rouault, and Albert Marquet. Moreau encouraged his students to embrace their individuality and explore personal expression, a teaching philosophy that contrasted sharply with the rigid academic standards of the time. Matisse, in particular, credited Moreau with teaching him to draw what you see and feel, an approach that would prove essential to Matisse's development as a leading figure in Fauvism and modern art. The themes in Moreau's paintings often centered on mystical and mythological symbols, representing ideals of beauty, suffering, and transcendence. His Salome dancing before Herod, 1876, is one of his most famous works and showcases his ability to fuse religious and erotic elements. The painting depicts Salome, a figure of both sensuality and danger, dancing in front of Herod in an opulent, dreamlike setting. Moreau's Salome is both a seductress and a sacred figure, embodying themes of power, lust, and divine retribution. The work's sensuality, intricate details, and haunting beauty captivated audiences and critics, solidifying Moreau's status as one of the era's most innovative painters. Throughout his life, Moreau remained a deeply private individual, often retreating into his art and avoiding the social scene that many artists of his time embraced. He never married and devoted himself entirely to his work and his students. As he aged, his paintings became increasingly abstract and visionary, with color and form taking on symbolic rather than literal roles. He produced numerous watercolor sketches, which allowed him to experiment with color and explore more spontaneous forms of expression. Moreau passed away on April 18, 1898, leaving behind a remarkable legacy. After his death, his home was converted into the Musée Gustave Moreau, which houses over 14,000 works, including paintings, watercolors, and drawings, offering a comprehensive view of his artistic evolution. The museum remains one of the most important collections dedicated to a single artist in France, preserving Moreau's legacy and showcasing his unparalleled contributions to symbolism and modern art. In retrospect, Moreau's work represents a profound exploration of the human psyche and the transcendent power of art. By integrating myth, mysticism, and deeply personal symbolism, he transcended the academic conventions of his time, creating works that continue to intrigue and inspire. His influence on 19th and 20th century art is undeniable, and his visionary approach resonates with artists who seek to delve into the subconscious and the symbolic. In many ways, Moreau's art serves as a bridge between the romantic desire to evoke deep emotion and the modernist impulse to explore inner worlds, securing his place as a true pioneer of symbolism and an enduring figure in the history of art.